everyone. My name is Christina. Welcome back to my channel. Today's guest is lovely Maggie Hui. And today we will be discussing the topic of sound healing, the potential sound has for healing. As well as Maggie's personal experience with it, because I've known Maggie for a few years now, and I met her through an aerial yoga practice. Maggie was first a student, then she became a teacher, then she started facilitating workshops with sound healing, incorporating yoga and other things. And so she is really a person that I've seen grown in her physical practice as an aerialist, but also in her everyday life and spiritual practice as well. And something that I wanted to mention about Maggie is that in addition to all of those things I mentioned, she is a preservational architect. So she is multi-talented. And I am so happy to have her here today with me. Welcome, Maggie.
Thank you, Christina. Hi, everyone.
So, Maggie, I want to ask you just a little bit about your personal journey. Obviously, you were an academic, you have a career outside of the world of aerial yoga as well as the world of sound healing. But how did your journey into the healing arts begin? What drew you to sound healing in particular? Because now you are really going deep into the area of sound healing. So, what got you interested in it in the first place? And if you could tell us a little bit about your background, where you're from, that's always nice for people to know.
Hi, everyone. My name is Maggie. I'm originally from Hong Kong and I moved to New York 5 years ago. So, Christina, I started my healing journey maybe around, I think, to the real journey is like 2012. It was like, of course, I've been like reading books and wanting to learn more, but the trigger was like, at that year, just before I go to United States for 1 year visiting scholarship, that I discover or I realize my childhood trauma, you can say that there's some sort of experience as a child, that there's like a very deep grieving of me losing a young brother. So that triggered me to embark on a healing process. And then later, I have a lot of free time in United States, so I started free journaling. And then I also tell myself, I'm going to satisfy this little girl inside me, whatever I want to learn next, whatever healing modality, I'm going to spend the money and let little Maggie to enjoy it. So then the sound healing come in. I went to a Tibetan shop, see the singing bowl. I love the sound. And then I think, okay, when I move back to Hong Kong, if there's someone who can show me the way, I'm going to go learn it. So that's basically how it started.
Awesome. That's such a lovely story. I feel like, a lot of people have different reasons why they start on a certain path. And it's always nice to relate it because we all have different experiences and reasons why we started on our healing journey or, healing paths. So, okay, so you got interested in sound healing and then you pursued a teacher, or how did you
Then
get to start to like really practice and incorporate?
then I went to my healing sessions. Like I was the receiver. Yeah, I
Mm.
think that was the power. So I found the teacher in Hong Kong, and then I approached him after I went to his like a few like sharing session because I like the sound. So this was a few years ago, back before he got like really, really famous now in Hong Kong. So I asked him, can you give me a private session? And it was like quite affordable. So I just asked and he gave me a private session. And during that session, it was like 1 hour. I really get into this sort of subconscious, like in between sleeping state. And I really go deep into that grief of losing my younger brother, who was a stillborn baby when I was like 5 years old. So it really unlocked that sort of grief and not letting go of letting him go, and even wanting to fulfill part of his life goal, that as a boy in our family. So that was really powerful, and it was really relief as well, after the session. So then I realized sound for me, maybe it really resonate my language, my body's language, and how I receive it. Then I really love it. Then I thought, okay, let me learn from this teacher how to use singing bowl.
That is so deep. I bet that was transformational, right? I mean, in my work, obviously, the audience knows by now that I'm an acupuncturist and I use other modalities as well. And it's always wonderful to see how different modalities are incorporated to heal on a deeper level. Because I've utilized my skills to obviously treat the body, just the body, be it pain or regulating hormones or whatever the case may be, but there is something to these deep cellular memories, right, that we carry, sometimes trauma from childhood and other times of our life. Um, so it's really fascinating to me, especially sound vibration, because in Chinese medicine and actually in massage therapy, from my background in massage therapy, I've seen some practitioners use tuning forks to actually assist in healing of bones. And actually, in Chinese medicine, when we use electroacupuncture, there are certain frequencies to heal different types of tissues, be it muscle tissue, tendons, and ligaments, or bones. So it's really interesting to see how sound and different frequencies affect the body, the mind, and the spirit. And it seems like that was your experience as well. Now, when it comes to singing bowls, because you utilize singing bowls, you can present one if you have it nearby. Wonderful. And so I've seen them in different sizes. And do they, just for people who are not familiar with that methodology, do they also have different frequencies? They're tuned to different frequencies, or can you tell us a little bit more about the singing bowls themselves?
Yeah, the singing bowl I use are metal one. They are like largely percentage of copper, but with other different metals in it, and it's handmade. So there's machine made or handmade, and then there's also crystal bowl. So for the crystal bowl is mostly what you see now in a lot of yoga studio. Those are machine made, and those can be tuned to a certain frequency. Mhm.
Mm,
So for Tibetan singing bowl, like the Himalayan metal one, then it's more like the tone, like the do re mi fa, so like the key.
aha.
Yes, yes, yes. And then the smaller one, the sharper, the larger, the tone will be also a little bit like lower, but also depending whether you rub it with a very hard surface, medium soft, or really really soft, then it will also give a different octave. Yeah.
Mm.
Mhm.
And how do you decide which bowl to use for different occasions or different people? So is it something that you're like, okay, I know this is for this, or is it something that you kind of tap into your intuition? Can you tell me a little bit about the process itself?
Yeah, I think for people who are interested, there are like probably different teacher and different philosophy and approaches, which is all, of course, intention is for the good cause. For some of my friends, where they learn it, then they will have they say the seven chakra bowl. So the base is like the C chord, like do, like do re mi fa sol la ti. So it's like seven. So it's just counting from the base the sacral, the solar plexus. So some people practice it this way, like the do is for the base, the
Yes.
re is for the sacral, so things like that. But for me, my teacher or my approach is more like intuitive and just go with the flow. So I was when I went to my teacher, we just have one bowl, and he even blindly give it to us, so we don't know which key. And then he said that you can exchange it if you really don't like it, but seldomly people change it. So I just sort of take it in, and my both this bowl and the other is like the upper chakra, so it's just what it is. And then also one more note is I realized the most important for practicing singing bowl for yourself or for people is your intention, the frequency from that person who is doing that giving. So that's what I base my practice on, is really cultivating from my heart and my intention. So I don't really follow that sort of the chakra and the key for now. But in future, I may buy the seven chakra bowl. Yeah. So I hope this gives some references.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's very parallel, to the way I practice, to the way I view medicine, especially energy medicine. And sound healing is a vibrational medicine, type of medicine as well. And I actually, in my conversations with my Qigong teacher, which you've met as well, she really emphasizes the power of intention, as it in life in general, in our everyday interactions, of course, but really when it comes to healing and deeper levels of healing, that intent is the most important thing. Um, and so, really, the focus on the practitioner to work from the heart and having a pure heart and pure intention towards the client or patient is really the key in finding healing. That's wonderful. Now, tell me, when you employ sound healing, I know you do group sessions. You also focus on the phases of the moon. Is there any particular reason or maybe more benefit to practice vibrational medicine or sound healing during those specific times of the month, like the new moon and the full moon? Or is it because those are really important spiritual times where we can, for instance, set the intentions for our journey forward in life and spiritual practice, or let go of the baggages and burdens of our daily life? So, are those some of the reasons, or is there something else that kind of propels you to offer sound healing during those times of the month as group sessions?
Yeah, for the group session, I have done like a few of them, and then schedule them around like the full moon and the new moon. I myself, I'm not like a very deep knowledge in astrology or like the solar system, but I just found that usually collectively, like for the human being in Earth, like during new moon is when you have the crest, and moving towards full moon, so it's also beginning of the month, so it's good to the moon, so it's good to set like new plans, or when you have new wish, plant the seed. So I sort of combine these two, like a more collective energy with a nice intention. And during full moon, a lot of people, because of the you can feel, some people can feel the effect, maybe the tidal wave is different as women because we have our monthly cycle, so we may also feel the fluid or emotion. So during full moon we may experience sort of like deep emotions surfacing. So it's also I found it is also a helpful way to introduce sound healing, to process or to take a look at what emotion may be surfacing. And then it's good to like take that chance to maybe like not eradicate, but to acknowledge what's been surfaced and send them out. So this is what like just a formula, not a formula, a pattern I was like testing and trying. But actually, like if just you want to do sound healing, there's no boundary of when you should or should not do it. It's just merely a guidance for the time, I think.
Yeah, I love it. I love the group energy. I've received a few group sessions, and some private sessions, and definitely you can get the benefits in both ways. And so, when would you recommend to a person who maybe has done some, maybe even sound baths, right? You mentioned yoga studios and singing bowls being a little bit more predominant these days over there. Um, what would you say is a good time for someone to transition from group sessions into possibly a private session? Is there something where sound healing would be extremely beneficial for that you've seen in your own practice?
Yeah, I feel that like for private session is if you have a hunch, like I really trust intuition. If some people like me in the past, I just have this feeling that I need to be in a private environment and have someone to work on me with the sound work, then maybe look into that intuition and have a like investigation why you have this hunch or feeling wanting it. So, and it's not necessary that you know is great that if you have this intuition to have a private session, because it really doesn't matter. Like you may be just enjoying a group session and that's fine, like it is great. So I would feel that like if you really feel there's something you may want to work on and be focused on, and of course then you can talk with the people that you know who practice like sound healing or singing bowl work, talk to them, and then yeah, then is a good time to have a private one-on-one environment for you to receive, because that's of course the person who give that sound healing can also know to your best interest what's going on. So that's very focused. That can go very deep. So I also sometimes recommend people, if they don't know anything about it, just come to the group session first, have a feeling of it, because some people may not. This may not be the modality they feel comfortable with. Maybe it is free flow movement, or maybe it's journaling, maybe it's silent meditation. So it's like the group, I feel that is to let you have a little bit taste, and then you can think about whether you really want to have a one-on-one session.
Yeah, that's great because, for instance, when I work with clients one on one, I usually have a monthly session with guest healers. And so I like to provide that element of exploration so my clients can really experience other modalities as well, right? So one of those sessions is sound healing and experiencing that for themselves if they haven't had a chance before, and other modalities such as astrology, utilizing tools that can really get us to work on ourselves in all the aspect of ourselves. So really acknowledging all layers of ourselves and understanding what works for us and what doesn't, because like you said, it may not work for everyone. For instance, I know, for some people who are very visual imagery, or guided visualization type of meditation works really well for them, and other people are completely not visual types. They love the audio or the sensory aspect of healing and even meditation. So it's really good to give people options and experience it for themselves. That's great. And so what is the length of a typical session in sound healing, or does it really need to have a time frame in order to feel the effects?
Yeah, I found that like for if it's a one-to-one, of course I like emphasize everyone is different, like, and also with my I mean, Christina know me, I'm a more like free flow, and I have also other skill set, so I combine them together.
Mhm.
So I think maybe there's some sound healing, they're more like fixed, or because of that, it's also a benefit to having it have a fixed structure. So for me, I don't have like a super fixed structure, but of course, like one out, like to, it's almost like imagining the private one-on-one person coming in a room with me, then 1 to about 1.5 hour to let everyone sort of slow down and in tune with each other frequency, to have a chat first, to get to know what's going on. And then I will like start the session, and then also depend each person's situation and story. I may fill in with visual guidance, or it will be a very bodily, maybe the ball will be on their body, or maybe it's a very meditative practice. So it varies, but what I can tell everyone is usually the sound, it doesn't have to be very long. Like if it's like the longest, it may come in intervals, so it may be like even just 20 minutes can be a good, not good chunk, but it's like, for me, my mindset is 20 minutes they have some experience, they
Mhm.
can have very deep experience. And of course sometimes I may like have it like 40 minutes, but really for me at the moment, the way I practice, that 20 minutes is what the magic happens.
Right, right.
Like
Yes.
when you do the needle for me too, right? We're talking, da, 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 and then suddenly you can sense that I'm like, so I'm maybe the trance, like in the states of yeah. So
Yeah,
that's,
yeah.
I found there's like a magic window of like some sort of 20 minutes. That's when to let that person really get deep into that state, whatever state the person need to get into. And then from that, it can be 20 minutes or 40 minutes or longer. And sometimes it may be 20 minutes, stop, talk a little bit, process what come up, then do a little bit again. So that's my method. I know like for maybe sound bath, they may be like, okay, this whole hour will be the sound circling, people feeling relaxed. But I think for me, I really want to get to know the person, what's going on. Is almost like holding hand and let me go into her his or her world. So this is the it's like a
Processes.
discovery process. It's
Yeah.
a little bit like how you treat me.
Yeah, yeah. So let's just talk a little bit briefly about um chanting, right? Because I feel like it's also very tightly tied into sound healing in a way, right? You can get into those trance like states. I feel with more ease when you do utilize these types of tools like singing bowls and chanting. So, for instance, because I've been in this yoga world for over a decade now, I used to frequent kirtans, right? Where people would get together and play on various traditional Indian instruments and use chanting, and there's dancing. And so, if you're not in that world, it might seem a little bit interesting and different, but I noticed that every time I would be at a kirtan, my ears would start to like buzz with energy, and there's like redness, and I'm just like taken by that energy of chanting. And so I know that you, in your background, you have practiced specific kinds of chanting. And do you also use it in your sound healing sessions? And what have you discovered as far as chanting goes? Because
Mm.
again, that goes back to different people might need different tools to get into that state of awareness where they'll get deeper healing.
Yeah, I think is this is such a good like question. And it brought it back to when you invite me, this is about sound healing, so this is about sound. So I always feel that after I learned singing bowl, I realized human voice is the best as well, is the best sound, because we make the sound, right? Baby makes the sound that makes mother feel touching and crying. So sound, human voice itself has a magic healing potential. So then, of course, chanting, which you can sing it for yourself, or you'll be in a group and everyone sing it together. And then it has different vowel, different resonance to the body, and depending whether you is this just scientific, or whether it's the chanting, the spiritual idea behind it. People do really like feel benefit. um I have like sometimes like I don't like chant these mantra a lot, but I for the singing part, like what we learn in yoga, but I did like a few times. And then I do feel like if you chant like 20 minutes, like maybe like the Ganesha,
Yeah.
or there's other, like you sit and chant and be focused with the intention. And also I forgot to talk about that we can, is about being being at that moment of that, just like when we do breathing meditation, staying with the breath. So with the sound, you can also say, for through chanting, your mind, your mouth, your breathing, your focus is every sound. It's like when you're singing the karaoke, there's like the dot, ding ding ding, so you
Mhm.
follow. So that also give a very powerful meditative practice. And then after maybe 10 about or 20 minutes, then you can really feel something is going on. Or maybe if you don't feel it, then later, after you've done it a few times, you feel you're more happy, or you don't have those, you know dragging heaviness, things like that. So that's really benefit. And then to answer your question, I do use my voice a lot.
Mm.
Not so much the type of chanting of the Hindu world, like from the yoga, yeah, from the yoga practice. Not so much. It depends. Again, it depends what client, who's the client. If suddenly I have an intuition that may benefit, I may do that. And then I also use Tibetan mantra sometimes, but that one is not singing; it's just the speaking of it.
Right.
But it has a
Recitation.
different, yeah, recitation, but it has a different vowel, so it may give different sound quality. The third one I use is I sing intuitively, so I call it like a voice work. So
Mm.
that will be just like, when you hear sing boy go one one one, so I sing as well, and that is called Pansori, living sound. So that one is more like really tap into the energy and be with the moment, use my ear to listen to what my mouth's coming out, and constantly stay with that present moment.
Yeah.
So human voice is wonderful. I really love like promoting just even using our own voice to connect to ourselves or to the other person.
Yeah, I love it. I love singing. I love chanting. I love utilizing the human voice. And actually, as a parallel to Chinese medicine, when we sing, when we hum, we're actually nourishing our earth element, our spleen. And so I remember when I was younger, if I would be upset or worried about something, in order to relieve that type of stress that I'm feeling, I would just start humming for myself. And I would hear my husband like, oh, why is she freaking humming? Like it's like I'm soothing myself. This is
Yeah,
really
yeah, yeah.
helping me in this moment in time. And then once I started learning Chinese medicine and all these aspects of how we can help ourselves, I'm like, look at that. I was already singing. So
Wonderful.
yeah, that's really, really great to hear. Maggie, I don't want to drag this conversation. I just really wanted to kind of bring this field into my audience. And so for people to understand sound healing and vibrational medicine a little bit more, especially from someone who's been on the path themselves, who is a practitioner. So I really thank you for your time today. And I also would like to just ask you, would you be comfortable with me actually leaving your information in the description box so people can find you online and maybe find
Yeah,
out
yeah.
about your offerings, etc.? Awesome. Maggie, it's always a pleasure having a conversation with you. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day and have a lovely week ahead. See you
Thank
next
you,
time.
Christina. See you next
Bye.
time.